Welcome, everyone, to the captive audience. It is September 2nd. We have just passed the threshold into no longer a summer month, even though it's still the summer, and we just passed Labor Day. And now apparently I'm violating Labor Day because I'm wearing white. Maybe it was white slacks. I don't know. But always dapper, always appropriate, and always wise in sharing with us not only what's going on in the state legislature, but the right things to do. Representative E. Warner Reschke, District 55, which encompasses, let's see, Crater Lake and many regions around that. Thank you for joining us here tonight. It's kind of a momentous time because not only was it Labor Day weekend, but it was a state legislative session that stretched from the 29th, Friday, right on through and still going on.
Still going on. The House is done, hopefully, because I'm back home. But yeah, it's
Well, what happens if the Senate changes?
Yeah, that's a good question. I had that question come up. We signed off. We did sine die. We passed the resolution in the House, but I don't think a chamber can be open without the other chamber for more than 3 days. Now, it could be off by a day or so, but there is some duration that a chamber cannot just continue on indefinitely without the other chamber being in session. So we concluded the session. If they start violating that rule or that constitutional provision, then the session will just be over whether they pass something or not.
So 3 days from when you guys wrapped up, which you guys wrapped up on Monday morning.
That's the number I recall. Yeah, that's the number I recall. I have to go look it up for sure. But there is a definite time that a chamber may extend beyond the other chamber having done sine die and said we're out.
And you guys, as a chamber, sine die, right? So it's not.
Yes, you do by chamber, correct. And the big thing at the end of a long session, and sometimes at a short session, is to do it at the same time. Then they open both chamber doors. You look across the rotunda at the other chamber, so the speaker can see all the way across to the Senate president standing at the rostrum, and they both hit their gavel on sine die, and we're done then together. That is the romantic way of doing it, but this wasn't very romantic, so I guess we just got done, so we couldn't cause any more mischief, which was fantastic. So if the Senate doesn't get their work done in time, there is a time limit on how long they can go.
That is good to know. I'm also hearing, I think Jason Williams with the Taxpayer Association was on Lars earlier and said something to the effect of that the governor is planning to take what's passed and sit on it for like 30 days before signing it. Do you know about that? And what's the purpose of that?
Yeah, I've heard that too. When you pass a tax measure, you may not put an emergency clause on it, meaning when the governor signs, it goes into effect immediately.
Right.
There has to be 90 days from the day that the legislation is passed to go until it goes into effect. The governor has 30 days to sign it in that 90-day window. And I do not think you can begin gathering signatures against the petition against that law until it becomes a law. So the 90-day clock starts soon as if the Senate passes it, it starts then. The governor's clock starts for 30 days. And then if you continue on, then so instead of having 90 days to find signatures, you'll only have 60.
You know, it makes no sense that the clock would start when it passes the legislature, but isn't a law yet, because you can't gather signatures to challenge it until it is a law. That's just
that was my understanding of my reading, but I need to go back and double check that. But that was my first pass is why she would do that.
Well, just because it doesn't make any sense doesn't mean it's not true, right?
Correct. There was a movie in the 80s called Risky Business, and I think somebody in the chat just put, this seems like shady business. So I'd agree.
Shady business. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is shady business. And it's more than just shady in that regard. It was being changed until the last minute. It's being done basically without anybody being able to provide testimony on what the final bill is that's being advanced, right? There was an opportunity for testimony, and I submitted some online last a week ago yesterday, right? A week
Right.
ago, and
Yeah, it
that's
was
it.
Monday. It was on Monday a week ago. Yeah, it was Monday the 25th, I think.
And we didn't even have a bill number. It was just an LC. It was just like a whim as to what we might actually encounter. And then after the testimony, we'll find out if there's what the bill is going to actually be, which just
So
doesn't.
here's some interesting information I just got.
Yeah.
One of my fellow representatives, Representative Lewis out of Staten, he says TV News just reported the Senate vote is delayed until the 17th due to Senator Gorsuch's health. So that really, I'll have to really go look into that when a chamber is signed, he died, and the other one hasn't, how long they can stay open. Senator Gorsuch, I think he had some surgery and then had something else go on. And so he's just been kind of delayed for a while here and can't get to the floor. And they need all 18 of their senators to be present, Democrat senators to be present to vote. And so you have 12 Republicans that are saying no or they're not there. And you need 18, you need 3/5. And so they don't have that.
But that's because this is all Republicans' fault.
So,
Like we run everything somehow, don't we?
yes, yes. So fascinating times we live in, and when the governor made her announcement, we said right away this is a bad time of year to do it over the Labor Day weekend, starting it on a Friday. The governor reassured us that all she needed us there was for quorum. She had the vote. She was going to take care of it. Everything's going to be great. And even in the House, we had some hiccups going on for quite a while because we said we'd provide 4 for quorum. We need 40 in the House. That's 2/3 of 60. So we said we would provide 4, and that means all Democrat. They'd have to have 36 Democrats. And so when they didn't have that, I think on the first night, and didn't have that on the second night, we were able to use that to leverage some things into the bill that are actually pretty good. One of them is a provision that the bill said basically ODOT could change taxes to make sure that the HCAS, the balance between heavy and light vehicles, was kept, that proportion was kept. Right now, we're significantly out of balance, and it's the legislature's job to do that. The legislature was saying in this bill, we're going to give it to ODOT to do that, or to DAS, I think, Department of Administrative Services, to do that. We said it was unconstitutional, and
Yeah.
we think it is. So the provision that we got amended into the bill was that DAS can change the numbers, but only going down. They can't go up.
Mm.
So we figured that was a good thing, actually. So if they need to do a ratio adjustment, they have to go down, they can't go up. The other thing we got in there was there's the payroll tax for public transit is 0.1% of your paycheck. This bill raised it to 0.2. Republicans were able to get that increase sunsetted at the end of 2027. So on
Mm.
January 1st, 2028, the sunset would go that 2%, 2.2 would go back to 0.1. We want to get rid of it completely, but that was a no-go. So we got 2 good things in the bill, still awful bill overall,
Yeah.
but that's the by us only providing 4 and them not being able to provide the number of members in the House. At least we were able to get those 2 things into the current bill.
So you basically took a horrific bill and made it slightly less horrific, and maybe a few poison pills,
Yeah,
maybe.
and then we voted no. Right, exactly. Most of us, at least.
And the House kind of controls on this. It's a budget thing, right?
Yeah,
And
it's a tax bill. Budget bills can start in the House and Senate, which is a spending appropriations, but a tax bill has to start. A bill for raising revenue must start in the House.
interesting. And they must not be able to. I mean, they need 18 in the
They need
Senate.
18. They have 30 total. They need 3/5 to. They need 2/3 there to have quorum, which they do.
Mhm.
Republicans are there, so they get over the 20. But to pass a tax measure takes 60% or 3/5 vote, and they need 18. They only have 17 apparently.
Interesting. So, yeah, I mean, they've been mismanaging this all along, and it seems like they would have known or anticipated all of this. But
Yeah,
yeah, I guess they that's what happens when you're in charge and you do a terrible job.
Yeah, right. No, it's they mismanaged it during the session. This whole transportation talk has been going on for almost 18 months now, almost 2 years. Because last year I was in July and August, September, and October, I was traveling around the state with the Joint Committee on Transportation and doing the road show. So we'd be in Ontario and Hermiston and Bend and Medford and Albany and Eugene and Salem
Yeah.
and Portland, etc. And we'd do two stops over a weekend or a couple of days, and then we wait for a month and then do two more. But it was we were getting feedback and input, and they still couldn't put anything together that was something that would pass. Even their own members wouldn't pass it. So it's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing that it's so bad that I mean, I know that there was sort of this Republican that voted for it and a Democrat who voted against it, but
Right.
um, and that's not that unusual, although not always great. But
No, it wasn't. It
they
wasn't.
gave
It
a
wasn't.
Democrat. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it isn't great.
Yeah. Well, and it gives a Democrat the opportunity to like
Right.
virtue signal for election purposes, that
Correct.
I really am against it, and
Yeah.
then point to that when they get hammered with TV ads next year.
Right. Exactly. No, that's spot on. You we're debating policy, but politics behind it. So you can't ignore that.
No. So kind of digging into this, by the way, the opposition was overwhelming. It seemed like, by all accounts, it was like for every one person that spoke up for it, like between nine and 19 to one, depending on. I think it was like 93% of the testimony I heard was against
Yeah,
the.
Representative Drays, and so we were in the Senate chamber because they're still working on construction. So the House chamber was not open. They only have 30 desks in the Senate. There's 60 House members, so House members shared desks, and so there were two House members per desk in the Senate chamber. And for a while there, I was sitting next to Representative Drazen, the House Republican leader, and she had a big stack of bills, letters, and emails on her desk, and it was a big stack way over our heads, and it was 94% or 93% to 6 or 7%, whatever it was. And there's just a little stack opposed. But it almost reminded me of the Affordable Care Act, but I think that it was even bigger. So
Yeah.
it was overwhelming. People said, no, this is not the right way.
Yeah, and so regular folks are saying it, and then at the same time, the Republican caucus came forward with a proposal as to how to do this without raising taxes and reducing the likelihood that anyone would have to be laid off. Talk a little bit about that, because I think then we want to tell people the bad news as to what the bill actually is going to probably deliver.
Right. So ODOT has been moaning for the last year or two that their hands are tied, and that's true. The House Bill 2017 raised gas taxes by 10 cents over, I think, 4 or 5, 6 years. But it dedicated where that spending could go. And the one thing they left out of that bill, I voted no, but one thing that was left out of that bill was operations and maintenance. And so while costs have been going up for building all these projects and doing stuff and sucking every dime out of ODOT for projects, they had very little that they could throw over to operations and maintenance because of this law. And so one of the Republican solutions was, let's just untie ODOT's hands. We'll just say ODOT, or the Oregon Transportation Commission, the body that oversees ODOT, you guys decide where this money should go, given how much operations and maintenance, keeping the priorities of safety and maintaining roads, put that at the top of the deck, and then figure out project wise, we're just going to open up the funnel and let you guys figure that out. as opposed to us tying your hands saying you must use this money on this project over here, and you can't use the money to plow roads or paint lines. That was one of the Republican solutions without raising taxes, and that did not go anywhere.
And
Another
the
idea,
Democrats are actually saying that people are going to die if this doesn't pass, right? But
right, and that's I think it's a false choice. It's like we'll do nothing or we'll pass taxes, right? And if we do nothing, people will die. And it's like, no, they're not going to die. I mean, what you're going to have to do is plow roads less, and you're going to have to be more careful when you drive, etc. But nobody wants them to do nothing. Republicans weren't saying do nothing. We had a third way, a better way. One was to free up the money within ODOT. Another one was to kind of trim the fat. So there's $28 million in this biennium that goes towards DEI, a whole DEI department within ODOT.
yeah,
We thought that was a waste of money. $13 million goes towards a climate change program within ODOT. We thought that was a waste of money. We thought that money should be shifted over towards, uh, operations and maintenance. And is that enough? No, but it's a start. And you start looking through their budget and start doing those sorts of things, which we did outline and did detail. And we decided we'd take half of the transit money and move it to operations or maintenance, or make it available for that. Nope, couldn't do that. Couldn't do that, even though only 2% of Oregonians ride public transit, and that number's down from 2017.
yeah,
So they want to
not
double the amount of
recovered.
money for public transit that the state contributes, even though ridership is down. And that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, they haven't recovered from the COVID
Yeah,
lows,
from the
actually.
lockdowns. Yeah, and frankly, since 2017, there's these things called Uber and Lyft and other kind of rideshare programs that have become popular and actually are better, right? I mean, I can get picked up where I need to get picked up. I don't have to walk somewhere and stand outside, and then I can get in a nice vehicle and be transported exactly to where I want to go. Wow, what a concept, as opposed to walking half a mile in the rain, waiting in a kind of enclosed area for a bus to come, get on a bus with a whole bunch of people, do a bunch of stops, and then get dropped off a half a mile from where I need to go and walk again in the rain to where I'm going. I mean, it's just
And
not
that's if they're on
not
time.
that's if they're on time, exactly. Or if I, yes. So again, it works for some people. Some people like it. There's some romance of it, of being buses and all this wonderful thing. But I'm just telling you that in order for public transit to work, you need it to go everywhere, and that is prohibitively expensive. And they don't charge enough. I don't think. I don't think they charge enough to keep themselves afloat anyway. So then they expect to be subsidized by people, the 98% that don't ride public transit.
Yeah, they create a financially insolvent entity, and then they
Yep.
go and say, "We've got to have it," and then
Yep.
hardly anybody uses it compared to what they said would be required, which is probably why they don't want to charge people, because there wouldn't be enough people paying into it. There'd be even less people riding it if they were charging it for it. And now they say we got to.
True.
Why don't they just call us? And maybe this is I'm a communications messaging guy. That's how I think. And if they were honest, and so we could help them be honest, this is a climate change DEI tax. It is, if they
Yeah.
had to put that in front of people on the ballot and say, we want you to pay more money to pay for climate change programs and DEI, is it a
Right.
yes or no?
Yeah. Climate
I think
change.
they're in trouble.
The climate change part of the program does come out of, I think, the payroll tax. So, yeah, it's terrible. It's not a great tax. And before 2017, all your public transit was local, right? So your city and your county or metro, if you live in the Portland area,
Yep.
they all contributed to make it work. And then in 2017, the state said, "Oh, we're so wonderful. We'll help out. We'll put in a payroll tax and send it to you guys." So now they're hooked on this funding to stay afloat. Whereas before the 2017 bill passed, they didn't get one. There was no continuing funding mechanism for public transit. So I think we should go back to what the core functions of ODOT are, and it's roads and bridges and highway, state stuff, not local stuff. And if your community needs to have public transit, then you're going to pony up to pay for it. But I don't see why somebody in Malin should be sending 60% of that tax to Portland.
And I think a lot of people thought that the gas tax would be mostly paying for the maintenance of the roads
Yeah.
and the upkeep, not being used for matching funds to match federal funds to do all kinds of projects, which, by the way, they're terrible at delivering on these projects. The rose
Oh,
quarter doubled in price. It took them, what, 8 years to do Zippo, nothing.
nothing.
And
Yep.
now the federal funding has been canceled, and
Yep.
deservedly so in this case.
Yeah, no, it's really sad, and the other thing that has been going on is borrowing money, right? And so when you borrow money or you sell bonds to fund private projects, and then you have uh, labor agreements and union contracts that raise for every dollar quote the legislature spends on a project, when they go out and bond it rather than use that, or the legislature gives them authority to go bond, then what ends up happening is you end up paying $2 for that $1 you spent, and
Yeah.
it always happens down the road. And the people that voted for the project usually aren't in the legislature by the time the bill comes due, and that's kind of what's happened here. I mean, I think the Abernathy Bridge is like 3 times over. $250 million was its estimated budget. It's $800 million right now, and I think they need another 500 or some unheard of number to finish it. And is that project important? Yes, but boy, you can't have those kind of cost overruns, and you can't then go out and borrow that money to make it work. And so that's why these projects are just becoming, a lot of ODOT's money is getting sucked up in debt service.
Yeah, this is stealing from the future. And because you have to have a balanced budget, there's
Yep.
no like inflating your way out of that one.
Right.
Like, the federal government does that in a different way, and it's still not good. But when the state does it, it's literally stealing from the future. And
It is.
also, there's no way around it. Like, as the state, you can't say, I think we borrowed too much. Let's restructure this debt or just not pay some of it. And it's like, yeah, well, then no one's going to loan you anything.
That's
Uh,
right. Yep. So
so
it's not great. That's my new phrase right now. It's not great because ODOT's in a not a good spot, and we were going to help them without raising taxes and burdening Oregonians, and we thought that was the best way forward. Would it solve ODOT's problems indefinitely? No, but it would get us a little further down the road so that we can rethink how to structure ODOT and how to fix these projects and which projects to do and which ones not to do in order to get their house back in order. And frankly, I think they probably need a change in management. And this bill that we just passed in the House, still to be seen what happens in the Senate, but in the House that we passed, this bill changes the authority of who can hire the director of the of ODOT, Oregon Department of Transportation. Previously, or currently, I should say, it is the Oregon Transportation Commission. These are 5 people that are appointed by the governor, and they
yeah.
oversee ODOT, and they hire and fire the director. This bill says we're going to take that away from the OTC and give it to the governor, and I'm not all that excited about that. I mean, it really depends on who's your governor, if that's a great idea or not. So,
But
you
it means
know,
the governor can't run away from the accountability either. It's like, oh, it was
it,
like commission, and it's like, well,
that's right. I would get rid of the director and retool ODOT, but it's the executive's job to do that. So I can understand why they should have the ability to hire and fire. I get that and be confirmed by the Senate, but it's just another thing in this bill that's kind of like, I'm a little suspicious.
so now, just so folks know precisely what is coming through here, this is, I guess, what's in the package. It's the 6 cent gas tax increase, which raises
Yep.
it to 46 cents, if I recall.
Correct. Correct. It's
So
40
even if
cents
you,
right now. Yep.
yeah, if the price of gas per gallon goes from $4 to $3 to $2, you're paying 46 cents no matter what, right?
No matter what. Yeah, and I put a chart up on X that shows that at $4 right now, 10% of your purchase of gasoline is gas tax. And then if
Yep.
it's 46 cents out of $4, then it goes to like 11.5 or something like that. And so And you can, I mean, when you're at like 2.50 a gallon, 40 cents or soon 46 cents will be tax. And that's just the state tax. And you got to add another 18.2 cents for federal tax on top of it. So it'll
Yep.
be over 60 cents a gallon that you're going to be paying that is just tax. It's not fuel, it's tax.
Yeah, you're not actually buying gas with that.
No, at
Money.
$4 a gallon, if let's say gas got to $4.60 a gallon, and we had a 46 cents gas tax, and that was it, that's a 10% sales tax. That's insane if you think about it.
And it's a basic requirement for people to be able to
Oh
function.
yeah,
This
yeah,
is not a luxury tax. This is taxing
no,
the working poor most severely.
yep, it does. It's a regressive tax when you continue to raise it because the working poor and even middle class have hard time paying more at the pump. And people say, "Oh, well, I can afford 6 cents a gallon." What's 6 cents a gallon? It's only so many dollars a week, so many dollars a month, so many dollars a year. But it's not just the 6 cents; it's the entire amount. But then you got to go back and go, well, wait a second. In 2021, we raised the small business tax by about 17%. That's rippled through our economy. We've had inflation. That's rippled through our economy. In 2019, we passed the cat tax, and every Oregonian on average pays over $350 in a hidden sales tax they don't even know that they're paying, but they
Yeah.
do pay because it's all shoved into the price of everything. And then in 2017, and you just keep, we passed a 10-cent gas tax then. So
Yep.
it's not 6 cents, it's 6 cents on top of all these other changes we've done over the last 8 to 10 years that are really making it hard to live in Oregon.
Yeah, it's just like the same thing that happens with property tax, and they make it sound like, well, it's only 10 cents more for every
Right.
thousand in
Thousand.
assessed
Yeah. Yeah.
value, and it's like that's nothing. Yeah, until it happens like 10 consecutive times, and then suddenly you're paying an enormous sum, like easily a
Right.
month of your salary, just for the privilege of paying the property tax for the property you
To
already.
live in your home that you may own free and clear, quote
Yep.
unquote.
Yep. Which hurts people on fixed income the most in
Oh,
the
yeah.
end, and the working
Yep.
poor who can't, just because their homes have increased in value doesn't mean they necessarily have more free
Cash.
cash
Right.
flow.
Yeah. Yep. Nope.
So I was just scanning here to see. I think you mentioned that there was a chart that you posted on your X here.
Yeah.
Oh, it was. I'll find it because
Yeah. Yeah.
Dot Debt Spiral is one of the ones that I think you also reposted.
Probably. Yeah.
I'll post a link to your X account so folks can actually track that down.
Oh, that'd be great. And they can follow me. That'd be fantastic and get up to
Yeah,
four
you
people.
should.
4 people. That'd be wonderful.
Yep, more people following really is the key. You can get the straight scoop from
Yep.
Representative Reschke and several other representatives that actually are
Oh
pretty
yeah.
prolific posters. Not everybody
Yep.
is, but there several are. Ed Deal, another one.
Yep.
You can really kind of get the skinny on what's happening and go X.com. They're not going to block it. So you're not going to
Nope.
be canceled anymore, which is
That's it.
great. So a title fee,
And
$139 to that, which they were already pretty expensive, the title fees, and that's just to certify the ownership of the
if
car
you
you already
transfer title car,
own. And if you sell it, that's right. Um,
yep.
$42 registration fee additional.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
doubles the payroll tax. We talked about that.
Yep.
$30 registration fee for EVs and fuel efficient vehicles. So that's just to try and make up for the gas tax they're not getting, I guess, right?
Correct. And the other thing that is in this calculus here is Oregon over the last 40 years has grown. A driver of our economy has always been population influx. More people coming than dying or going out. Since we have stagnated and we're just holding our own, barely kind of increasing, but that 2% a year is go off a percent or worse. And that the economists predict out to the 2030 and beyond that it will just stay that way. It's not going to do it. Our death rate since the lockdowns has been is higher than the birth rate in Oregon. So that means you have to import people. But we can see that a lot of people are leaving and
They're
businesses
leaving.
are leaving because high cost of living here. So population growth or virtually no population growth, and your model is all built on growth, then how does ODOT worker get paid more year after year? Because that's what their contract said coming into the system. So you don't have more people driving on the roads.
Yeah, it's basically and turns into a kind of entitlement to work for the government because it's not based on the service or the need for the population.
Yep.
And that's a great way to kill the budget big time. And so now we know what's really bad about this. And you said act now, say no to more taxes, and a lot of people did say that. And you
They
talked
did.
about
It
how
was
the
great.
gas tax was making it worse. But it's also interesting because you went into that plus a really, really good prior newsletter that you sent out where you said 2025 is Oregon's awful year. And you're not just being pessimistic or negative. You just did the laundry list of the stuff that's been happening. The gas
Yeah.
tax and these other things are bad for the economy. And
Right.
the economy was sucking wind before that, right? And we're not seeing the population growth. So some of our growth in the past we enjoyed just because people would come here, and then there would be
Yeah.
economic growth to keep that, to sustain that. The whole thing's reversed itself from 20 years ago, hasn't it?
It has. And, the trick of the legislature in a special session is we're going to focus on this one policy. We're going to do this one thing. But policies interact with one another. And when you do one thing, it affects something else. When you spend a dollar with ODOT, you can't spend it for health and human services. You can't spend it for public safety. You can't spend it elsewhere. You can't spend it on schools.
Yeah.
So the thing is, and then when you take more money out of an economy because you've raised taxes, then your wealth generators, the people, the businesses, can't use that money to generate wealth, which pays for the entire system. So the more you pull out of the economy and it sits in a department or whatever and doesn't get used for 2, 3, 5, 12 months, that dollar would normally be circulating in the economy and being used to build wealth. When it's in the government, it just sits there and stagnates. It does not build
Government is
wealth.
a parasite on the private economy. It's always been
Yep.
that way. There's no
Yep.
way around it.
Yep.
The government can't become the economy. Uh, Otherwise, it's like when you see those cartoons of a fan plugged into itself. Like it's
Yeah. Right.
or what is it? You see one of these power strips plugged into itself. See, we got it solved.
We solved it. Right. Yeah. That's exactly it. It's plugged in. No, I mean, my speech on the House floor was basically that newsletter in short. And basically, I said we can't look at just one policy; everything's affecting it. Let's take a look at Oregon. In 2025, two homegrown businesses that became wildly successful, Tektronix and Dutch Bros. Both of their headquarters they've announced that they're moving. One's going to North Carolina, one's going to Arizona. Having lived in a community that had Geldwin leave, which was a major door manufacturer, its headquarters in Klamath Falls, they left in 2015, I believe was the date they finally left. Our economy locally is still trying to recover from that. So it's a big suck when a headquarters of a big business, especially one that grew up in Oregon and was built by Oregonians, goes somewhere else. So you have two of those. Then you look at the economist numbers from the revenue forecast on August 27th, and they say, oh, wait a second, we're not gaining 24,000 jobs, we're losing almost 25,000 jobs from our previous forecast. And it's like, well, that's not good. And then you look at the unemployment statistics, we're above 5%. And that's the first time since 2021 that we've been in that situation. And then that's the bad news. Then it gets worse because we have this great gift from Trump in the tariffs has driven business to bring money back on shore, to bring manufacturing back to the United States.
investment.
And you know where they're not coming? They're not coming to Oregon.
No.
So Apple has like $600 billion they're investing in Texas and in Kentucky, and NVIDIA is investing, and even Intel's investing in Ohio and Arizona, while they're leaving here in Oregon. And so you go down the list, there's car manufacturers, they're investing. The Honda's taking their Honda Civic and going to be producing it in Georgia now because they're trying to avoid the 25% tariff. So there was this huge opportunity if Oregon had been in the right business position to glom on to not hundreds of millions of dollars, but billions of dollars in new factories and new jobs and to spur our economy forward. And instead, we've just become flyover country.
And there's no special session being called to deal with what we're seeing, the exodus of jobs, the
Right.
exodus of companies, the missed opportunities of companies that could have come here and didn't. It doesn't even seem to be like a topic of conversation for the governor. Like if I were the governor and Dutch Brothers said, even if there's a rumor that they're leaving, I'm on the phone. I'm calling up and saying, "Excuse me,
I'm
where
in
the
the
hell are you
car.
going?"
I'm in the car driving down there. Yeah. I'm not on the phone.
Yeah.
I'm down
Oh, you froze up
in the
there.
car and I'm meeting CEO and saying, why are you doing this? Oh, did I freeze up? Am I back?
Just for a moment, but we got it
Am I
all.
back?
And you're right.
Okay. All
Yes.
right.
And so
Yeah. So,
right. I
I mean,
mean, this is why you would have an emergency special session, is to rescue the economy that is not doing the job now. And you're not going to have all this. The revenue forecast for years have exceeded the
yep.
projections. That's going to reverse itself if this
Yep.
continues.
Yes, it will. And I think, the fact that we didn't, that we, in light of what I did, the story of 2025 that I just told you, the economic story, is now the time to raise taxes, is now the time to pull more money out of your economy? And the answer is definitely not right now. Maybe in the future it is. Maybe when everybody's doing really well, 6 cents a gallon isn't going to be a big deal. But right now, this is the absolute worst thing you can do for your economy, is to take more money out of it, hurt wealth producers, discourage people from staying, discourage people from coming. It's just, to me, it's just like this is not rocket surgery or brain science, I like to say. Yeah,
Yeah.
but apparently, that when the only tool you have is a hammer, everything becomes a nail. And
Yeah.
so with the Democrats, when the only tool they have is to raise taxes to fix, quote, revenue problems, don't look at the spending side of the ledger, then everything becomes a nail. Everything becomes a tax. It's all a revenue problem, always a revenue problem. Shortfall, revenue problem, obviously.
Yeah, and it seems like that the only thing that the ruling Democrats care about at this point, the only thing they care about is whether or not the government's growing, whether the
Yep.
government has all the money it needs, and that every government worker has job security and even pay increases.
Yep.
Uh, and that's simply not going to pencil out because the government can't be all of these things and
No.
pay for itself, just like we were saying before. And you listed, folks really need to take a look at this. You only mentioned a few examples. There
Yep.
are a whole bunch of companies where we missed the boat. And of course, there's the famous story of Kate Brown not returning a phone call to Intel back
Right.
when she was governor. And they were trying to decide, do we expand in Oregon, where we already have big operations, or do we expand in Ohio? And she just ignored them. So
Yeah.
they went to Ohio, and now that's where they're adding jobs, and here
That's right.
jobs.
That's right. It's
Those are $181,000 average per job.
right. And so when you get laid off at Intel and that's your salary, let's say you're making 180,000 or 100 $200,000, you can't just go down the street and apply for another job for $200,000 because those jobs don't exist here, right? So where are you going to go? You're going to sell your home and move to Ohio or Texas or Arizona in the industry that you work for, where they are hiring people at those wages or more. And it's not only just a loss of good income producers, also a loss of labor and talent, right? And so what would happen is when you have a big talent pool, like in the high tech industry or even in the shoe apparel industry, a lot of times some of those people in that business go, "Hey, I could start my own business doing ABC and supply it to this big company because the vendors we use don't do it very well or take advantage of us." Or I see, well, when that business doesn't exist there, those people don't do that here. And so we don't get that innovation in our economy. It's somewhere else.
That's right. We need to be a center for innovation, and it's going to be innovation that's not created by the government. It's going to be created by the
Correct.
private sector and the businesses that find this an auspicious environment. And here is you put in your newsletter on the 2025 Oregon's Awful Year. Um, there was a survey conducted by Oregon Business and Industry of
Yeah.
Oregon businesses, and these are startling statistics. Um, 41% of respondents said they're considering closing, selling, or moving their businesses because of taxes, the regulatory environment, or a combination of the two.
Yep.
41%. If that is 14%, that's
Yeah.
actually still not good. 41% means almost half of the businesses are saying, the hell with this.
Yeah. Yep. And the legislature's response is to meet over the Labor Day weekend to make it more expensive for you to do business or to live here. That was our response to that.
And you know what? These businesses noticed that because they said in this survey, only 18% of respondents believe that state lawmakers care about the success of their businesses.
Right.
18%. That means only 1 in 5 respondents actually thinks that the government gives a crap whether they survive or not, which is not going to convince people to stay or come
No.
here or expand.
Well, I mean, you look at the governor with this plan and the legislature with its action, it prioritized 500 ODOT workers over the rest of the economy. Prioritized 500 ODOT workers over that 41% that are looking to leave or don't think they can do it, or those 500 jobs apparently are sacred and sacrosanct. Whereas if you lost your job at Geldwin this year because the plant closed down in Klamath or in Chiloquin, 128 people lost their jobs, or you're at Wells Fargo and in Washington County, you're losing your job. Legislature and government doesn't care about you because we care about ODOT and making sure that those 500 people have their jobs. And I'm not saying those jobs are not important. What I am saying is we're picking winners and losers. And if you're in the government, apparently you're a winner.
Yeah, and actually, you're a winner that's not going to have anybody to pay for your winnings soon,
So,
because it's like
well,
it's a lose lose is what it is.
I say, I've been in the legislature for 9 years now, and uh, I was a private sector employee for the 30 years before that. See, I'm 42 this year. So, but anyways, what I'm saying is, before that, I created wealth. I paid taxes. Right now, as a government paid employee, quote unquote, um, I'm just recycling money. I get it from the government. I give it back to the government. I get it from the government. I give back. I'm not creating wealth in my job, and I know that. My job, though, my role is to free up the private sector so it can create wealth, and so everyone it can raise the tide, so all boats can float higher and higher instead of saying, oh no, we're just going to, the 500 ODOT jobs, we got to do that. We have to raise taxes. I'm sorry.
The Democrats think that the government is a perpetual motion machine, which
Yeah.
is this crazy theoretical thing that doesn't exist. And what it really is it's far worse than just a machine in motion. It's actually a perpetual um, tax and spend bureaucracy that doesn't deliver the results, because we've seen time and again, and that was one of the things with this bill that's super disappointing, is there's just no accountability for all the things they failed to do with the money they were given 8 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, that was it. My first legislative session was 2017. It was a transportation year. We passed House Bill 2017. It raised gas taxes 10 cents a gallon. They said they built accountability measures in there. There would be no problems whatsoever. And so when I hear the legislature say, oh, there's accountability in this bill, I just scoff because that's what I heard in 2017. And look where we are today. Really, what the legislature should do is get in there and hold ODOT Democrats' feet to the fire and say, you're going to spend the money this way, that way, or this way, or give it to the OTC and say, you guys do it. And then you have a governor who says, if you don't do it, I'm firing your backside. It's only when people start losing their jobs do all of a sudden do they start paying attention. And right now they're immune because they think they're all, they're just trying as hard as they can. The problem with government and Oregon state government especially is we still haven't returned from the quote lockdown era where people worked remotely. I think about 40% of Oregon state employees, and that might be an off number,
Might be
so,
low.
but it's a large number, still work from home.
Yep.
Right? Or they work 3 days in the office and 2 days at home. And I understand giving people the flexibility. That's nice. But I'll tell you, those 2 days at home, I can almost guarantee you are not nearly as productive as the 3 days in the office where the boss is watching them, where their coworkers are watching them, where things are being watched, as opposed to at home and just, well, you didn't get the report done. Well, I'm working on it. So we're not set up for success.
No, and government needs that accountability and oversight more than the private sector. Like if you're in sales in the private sector, I can see if you're selling, closing deals, and I'm like, you know what? If you want to do that by sitting on the toilet all day, you go do that. You just keep closing deals.
Right,
but the government, there's hardly any metrics because look, did they build the I-5 bridge? Did they build the overpass for the Rose Quarter? Did they build the Abernathy Bridge? Did they do any of those things? And the answer is no, no, and no.
Right.
So what is the metric?
And the question then is, why are those people still employed? Why is the project manager still employed? Why is the director still employed? Why? And it's because they're protected by the Democrats who are in charge of them, right? And so the overseers they've got protection. And I remember flying back from Boise to Portland on a business trip, and I was sitting there and I was hearing this guy yammer behind me say, oh yeah, I've got this huge spreadsheet and I can show my boss everything that I'm doing this job and that job and this job and that job. And I kept on thinking, yeah, what you're doing is you're showing your boss activity, but what he wants to see is productivity. If your job is to sell something, I don't care if you made 500,000 calls the last hour. That's fantastic. How many did you close? That's what I care about, the productivity. And so government is great at doing things. We're just doing stuff. We're busy going to and fro. But are we productive? No.
They're great at talking about and expanding the amount of inputs they spend. And the output is really the only measure because I don't really care.
Need a study, need another committee,
Well, here's something. I mean, so we just had Labor Day, right? And something really struck me about, I don't know if this is foreshadowing of 2026, because I'm thinking if only 7% of that was in your newsletter and that only 7% believe the state's business climate will improve in the coming year. And then I see this. I heard this first on I think it was OPB. It was a news report about the special session. They wanted to contact Governor Kotek because, of course, this is really her thing. She called the special session, and she said, "We've got to do this." And they said, "Where is the governor? We'd like to talk to her." And the answer is, "We're not going to tell you. She's in Oregon someplace."
Isn't that great? We're not going to tell you. I know it's her bill. She didn't show up on the 25th for the pre-session public hearing to testify. She didn't show up on the 29th when session opened and they had the bill before the committee and had people talking. It wasn't public testimony, but they had people talking for sure. And she wasn't on the quote invited list. I'm sure she was invited, but declined. And so, I mean, where is the governor on her bill? I mean, this is her bill. I don't know, the legislature, I didn't work on this bill for sure. I mean, I've worked on a few amendments, but this is not the solution that we really wanted. And we thought we could get something again without raising taxes, without increasing costs for Oregonian, and yet addressing some of the problems that ODOT is running into.
Well, and it's ironic. We're a state with vote by mail, and I get the feeling the governor's really mailing this one in as far as doing the job. She's not really engaged.
Well done. Well played. Well wordsmith.
Well, and the speculation is that she's on vacation. that she was
Yep.
enjoying a vacation on the coast someplace.
On Labor Day, while she called us in, I drove yesterday. I woke up at 3:45 a.m. on Labor Day, drove up to Salem so I could be on the floor from about 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock, give my 3-minute speech, vote no, get back in my car and get home by 7 o'clock last night. That was my Labor Day because she called a special session during the weekend.
Yep. Which just says that we don't really have somebody who's engaged and cares deeply about what's happening in the state, or she's just assuming that everybody will just be fine with it. Like, we're used to this mediocrity and this failure and paying more for it.
And I believe she deserves a vacation. That is fine. That's great. That's wonderful. But don't schedule a special session when you're going to be on vacation for your
Yes,
bill.
for your bill, for your key top priority. And I mean, she's already had a big failure with that in the previous session where they had the bill for
Yep.
housing, and then since they
Yeah.
failed to get the bill she wanted, they've also failed to produce housing, which is and we're not talking about like coming
Yeah.
10% short. We're talking about 60-70% below what they would need to produce every year that she committed to. And she is really just not measuring up. She is, by the way, according to there's a poll, the Morning Consult, that every 3 months conducts polls in every state in the country, checking out the approval, disapproval, popularity, basically, of every governor, and she is dead last in that list.
Yep. It's never good to be the best of the worst, is it?
No, no. But there were people working on Labor Day. They were the
Yeah,
protesters.
there were.
There were protesters out, and their message to the people in Oregon, apparently on Labor Day, was "workers over billionaires." And I don't quite understand that one because workers,
I don't think they understood. Yeah, we were fighting for the workers so that you wouldn't pay more, right?
and we're
And
running out of
the
billionaires in
billionaire doesn't
Oregon.
care.
Uh,
Not
no, we're
not
not
many.
creating new
Yep,
ones.
and fewer and fewer. Yeah, no, we're certainly not creating or enticing them to come.
No, or invest here. And then I thought about the one big beautiful bill at the federal level. And I know that's federal legislation, but the last time I checked, billionaires didn't make money off of tips or overtime. And yet
Correct.
nor do they rely heavily on Social Security for their retirement. I don't think. And those three
Right.
things all had tax relief in that bill. What are these people talking about?
Yeah. No, sometimes I think they're just entertainment. I don't know, but people that work on Labor Day,
Yeah,
first responders, folks in hospitals and stuff like that, and public safety folk, fantastic. Thank
yeah.
you so much. Grateful that they do that and they're there. But if you gave them the choice, you don't have to work on Labor Day. I know most of us say, okay, let's not work on Labor Day. And that was the thing is I'll go work in the legislature. That's what my job is. But um, don't make me do it on a holiday when we didn't have to do it on a holiday. And now we find out that it looks like it's going to be till the 17th till the Senate can pass the bill. So what was all the rush
And this is going to
about?
go on because if she doesn't sign the bill for 30 days, even if it were to pass that day, we're talking about
Yep.
October 16th,
Yep.
17th before you could even begin to challenge it.
Right. I think that's the rule. Again, I have to double check that. That seems like the only reason she'd delay in signing it. Otherwise, she'd want to get it signed and get it into law as fast as she could. But, you know, the, the governor has, the president of the United States has a pocket veto. So if he doesn't sign a bill in 10 days,
Yeah.
it's vetoed. In Oregon, it's the opposite. It's a pocket pass, basically. If the governor does not sign a bill within the 30 days, then it just goes into effect. The legislature's will moves forward. So It's a little different.
Well, and I just wanted to address one of the folks that posted here. One of our super fans, Faye Darlene Lamb, mentioned that her husband works at ODOT. He's actually very productive, she said, at home, works harder, gets more done because he doesn't have the interruptions. And and I think this is something to say. There are plenty of conscientious, hardworking people in the government. I think they are betrayed by the people that are in the legislature that frankly don't actually appreciate productive people and don't even want them to succeed. And the
Yep.
governor going on vacation is a perfect example of this. If people's jobs
Yeah.
are at stake, particularly if there are productive people in the government bureaucracy, those are the people we
Yep.
need in there. And the governor's on vacation when she should
Right.
actually be doing a job that she said needed to be done. I think that just says everything. I feel bad for the government workers who really do want to accomplish something.
Yeah. Now, in my, for the ODOT workers and so forth, the problem is that you're laying off people that actually do the work. We're not laying off the folks in Salem that sit in the
Bureaucrats.
offices or don't sit in the office. I mean, the amount of bureaucracy in that agency is overwhelming. It's over almost 5,000 individuals work for ODOT. And you look at like the people that drive the snowplows or paint the lines and stuff like that. There are a few dozen maybe in every community. Most of them are in Salem. And so you just have to ask yourself, is this really the best way to structure an organization? Do we really need 5,000 people to keep Oregon roads safe and so forth? And maybe the answer is yes, but it's certainly worth taking a look at. And there's no offense to somebody who works from home. There are people that can do that really well. I tried it for a while, was not very good at it. I mean, I have to do it here in the legislature when I'm during the interim. It's hard for me because I'm not focused on that because the doorbell rings and oh, it's the FedEx guy, and oh, the telephone rings or somebody texts me, and oh, and I walk by the refrigerator and go, oh, that looks like maybe I should get
And
a
the dog
snack right
comes
now.
in and
So I
hangs
mean,
out.
the dog comes in and then there's the neighbor comes by, etc. So there's a lot more distractions at home than most would think, and it does take somebody who's very focused and can do that. That's fantastic. I'm just saying overall I think the productivity of people at home is not what it can be in the office, and at least you can measure it in the office most of the time, not all the time, but most of the
So
time.
the climate change, DEI tax increases and fee increases, that's something that we are now going to have to deal with. But $28 million, I don't think the people painting lines on the roads so that we don't drive off the roads and crash in rural areas need more lessons
Right.
on pronouns, or need to be, the only whiteness they need to become aware of is the whiteness of the lines they're painting on the street, you know. And that's not what $28 million
This is
is
true.
being spent on.
Yeah, I know. I well said. I'll just say that.
Well, once again, an entire hour went by and like poof, because we covered so much
Yep.
great stuff. But
Poof.
I got to say, this is
Yeah.
always not only information packed, but wisdom packed. And I really appreciate you taking the time
Yeah.
to be on with us. Is there
Thanks.
anything that we need to know that you want to just share with us as we wrap up here?
Yeah, I can get a little bit inside baseball. So um, the revenue forecast predicted that we're going to lose $800 million because of the one big beautiful bill, because of no tax on tips, because of no tax on overtime that flows through the
Yep.
Oregon tax code, and that's money. And there's full bonus depreciation and a bunch of other neat stuff in that bill that allows Oregonians and Oregon businesses to hold on to their cash rather than paying them in taxes. Which I then say, while the government might lose $800 million, that's actually an $800 million investment in the
Yeah.
private sector. And that's where your wealth is created. So maybe on the balance sheet, the first year it looks like that, but going forward, it's going to be much, much better because people don't just shove that money under the couch. They put it in the bank, earning interest. They invest it in the stock market and make money, or they spend it so somebody else gets a bigger income than they
Yes.
would have had, and then they pay more taxes. So and that money moves around quickly in a private economy. It just doesn't sit in an agency. So, what all that to say is, I am leery of another special session that will roll back some of the one big beautiful bill things to quote save the
To
$800 million
disconnect from federal
for the state,
taxes,
because
basically.
right, because we can't afford spending one penny less than we spend today,
Well,
apparently. Right? There's nothing, we spend it completely perfect. Ergo, if we're $800 million short, obviously it's a what? It's a revenue problem. So we're going to fix it by clawing back some of those tax deductions that's in the one big beautiful bill. And I'm a little concerned about that
well,
right
and
now.
the big waste of money that apparently it is to allow
Yeah.
people that receive tips or overtime or Social Security, that there's such a
Yeah.
waste of money. The government really needs the money more than them is the assumption or the attitude. When in fact, actually, maybe they need it in this environment where taxes are going up and costs are still pretty high. Oh, I think we froze our. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. To, I was going to say the one big beautiful bill again is beautiful because it really what it's doing is it's trying to spur the economy no matter what state you're in. And if we,
Yeah.
you know, truncate it, kneecap it, then it's not going to have its effect. And while Oregon's balance sheet might look good, the rest of the state's going to be sucking wind. And with tax on tips, I introduced a bill to eliminate that, at least at the state level, because what is a tip? It's a gratuity. It's a gift. And in law, you can give up to $17,000 a year to somebody free and clear of taxes, but I can't give somebody a gratuity after they serve me a coffee. Nope, that's got to be taxed. That $2 or $1 or whatever's got to be taxed. But I can give $17,000 to somebody and that's not taxed. That
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense. Plus, you know what? I think that a reward for good service is actually a much better way to have an economy.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Oh yeah. I would say tip your legislators, but you can't do that. So don't do
no,
that.
no, no, but maybe we should operate off of tips for government bureaucrats that, if they do a great job, it's like, you process my driver's license super fast here. I'm really
That's
happy
right.
with it. Here's
That's right.
here here's $2.
Well, I mean, that's the whole, you look at the restaurant industry and waitresses and waiters and stuff like that. That's the whole motivation. Serve the customer well because you're not going to get paid a whole lot by the restaurant. You're going to make your money in tips. And
Yeah.
so you are highly motivated to give them the best experience possible so that you can earn the most amount of money for your effort. And that tips are a great way. I mean, it's just like commission and sales. That's why you pay salespeople that way. So they'll go out and sell because it's not necessarily fun to sell, call new people and try to sell something that they may not know that they need or want. That's hard work. But if you do it, there's a reward. Waiting tables isn't fun, but if you do it well, there's a reward. And so
It
it
this is
is a great way to do things. Yeah.
This is absurd as the idea of like tipping the guy at the DMV because he did a really good job. I mean, it's not that absurd. It's also absurd to think how many of us would be satisfied and want to
Yeah.
provide a tip when the way you would go in if you wanted to have dinner at a restaurant was take a number and sit there for 25 minutes and then finally go stand at the line, watching your food sitting there, waiting for your
Right.
turn to go up to the food. And then when you get up there, the person who gives it to you is grumpy and takes their time, their old sweet
Yeah.
time, and takes a 5-minute break while your food's sitting there. I mean, who
Right.
would
Yeah.
who would go to that restaurant? I don't know.
Not very. And that food must be exceptional.
That's right. That's right. And any good chef wouldn't place that barrier between their food and the person.
True that.
Well, thank you again for being
You
on.
bet.
Thank you for the heads up on what might come in the future.
Yeah.
And folks got to stay focused and continue letting the legislature know, particularly the Senate at this point, what they think about this bill for transportation.
It would be a good day if that bill did not continue on or it was sent back to committee. But I don't think it can go back to committee because we've sine died. So we'd have to somehow come back into session, which that'd be fascinating. I don't know what happened, how that works.
Uncharted territory. Yeah. Well, Governor Kotek might have to take some time off from her vacation to do something about that. We'll see. But we're glad that you're actually working hard here with us tonight, helping us understand all of it. And Much appreciated. Keep up the great work, and keep everybody. Please make sure that you follow Representative Reschke's X account, x.com/ewarnerreschke. And also, I think your website, I usually have that handy.
It's WarnerForOregon.com. Yeah.
WarnerForOregon.com. And they can also check out your legislative site, OregonLegislature.gov/Reschke.
Yep.
So check it out. Thank you again, Representative, for joining us here. We look forward to having you on again, and hopefully not too soon if it means another special session.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. It was great to be here.
All right. And thanks everyone for watching us here tonight and listening in. We really appreciate it. Share the show with everyone you can, and we'll see you tomorrow.